What's good? Welcome to another video. I want to talk about the concept of groove, and by the end of this video, I think you're going to have some new ways of looking at this concept, whether you are a bass player, guitar player, drummer, producer, singer, or just somebody who wants to come up with some new vocabulary for describing the music that you love. Now, when I think about groove or the concept of producing, or if I'm in a musical director role, I think about the sound. I'm going to call it the sound, in the same way that you might build a house. This is the way that I use, these are the terms that I use when I'm communicating ideas sometimes. So let's go over here now. Don't laugh at my prompting. My AI prompting is getting better, but just follow along. This is the best I got at the moment. So I look at building grooves in the same way that you might build a house. And when we build a house, what do we need? We need a strong foundation. In this man's opinion, the foundation is the drums. Now, while I'm on the subject of drums, and this, is a video for another time, but the mark of a good drummer, in my opinion, is not how well they play 7779311. It's how well they play Superstition. Like I said, that's a video for a completely different time. Let's get back into the slides. So the drums are on the bottom. If the drums aren't right, then nothing is right. Now, of course, after we have the foundation, we need the frame. We need to put some framing up. I think of the bass as being on the bottom, but really just above the drums. And why do I think about bass as the framing? Because bass is the link between rhythm and harmony. And it's not just the bass guitar, but the bass frequency itself. I personally think about bass like a tuned drum. I think about it as it is a rhythmic instrument, right? It's a part of the rhythm section, but it's like a tuned drum. That's why it's so important that, great drummers tune their drums. If your kick drum is tuned, A430 and your bass is tuned at A440, you see what I'm saying? We have a clash there. So also, just a quick tip, especially for you new bass players, if you are out there and you find yourself on a gig and there is an acoustic piano, tune to the acoustic piano. Don't tune to your tuner. Why? Because that acoustic piano, it could have, it could be, this long since it got tuned the last time. Humidity, all sorts of different things. Those things are not always perfectly in tune. Just a little quick tip. Back into the slides. So it's another real quick. Folks, have commented like, there's no bass in Prince's music. There's tons of bass in Prince's music, but the way that he used the bass was, the frequency. Anyway, let's get back into it. So after you've got your framing, then of course you need your walls, windows, doors, and things like that. Of course, I am simplifying this, but in my opinion, your harmonic instruments, guitars, keys, synthesizers, those would be, the next in line that are on top of this solid foundation, right? Now, if we talk about all the other things, windows, the curtains and all of that stuff, that could be your auxiliary percussion, sound effects, samples, background vocals, things of that nature. Okay? Of course, we need a roof. I think about the roof, that top, what's on the top, being our melodic instruments or our singers, synth lines, horns, things of that nature. Now, in terms of genre. Now, I'm super simplifying this concept, like really, really simplifying this concept, but I think it's a good way for you to visualize, especially if you're like a new producer. I think it's a good way to visualize putting parts together. Now, when we talk about genre, right? Every music is going to have like similar elements to it, right? I said in another video that a C major 7 is going to be the same C major 7 chord, whether it be in jazz, funk, country, rock, whatever. Nothing is going to change what the notes are in a C major 7 chord, but it's the different things that we do with this that make it whatever genre it is. So you can think about that in the same way that you think about how you might paint a house. You know, take for instance this. We've got a modest one-story house here on the left, and then a more modern dwelling on the right. So if you were trying to build an old school house, you know what I'm saying? You might have a certain kind of drum tone. You know, if you're a bass player, you might be playing a 4-string P bass with flat wounds or a upright bass. If you were going for a more modern sound, you might be playing a bass that's got active electronics and, you know, that 5 or 6 strings, extended range basses, things like that. So here's the cool thing. The blueprint has already been laid for us. We don't have to guess about how to do this. The first people who built houses, they had to go through a lot of trial and error. There weren't any books written for them, right? So, but now we have things that we can observe. You know, when you go into it, you know, if you're walking around a neighborhood, and that's where actually I thought about this concept for this video, was I was walking around the neighborhood and observing the houses, right? You can kind of guess what era a house was built in, where that house is from. You know, houses that were built in, you know, I'm no architecture expert by any means, and I wish I had the vocabulary to say, well, you know, this mid-century home has these elements or whatever. So now I'm stepping out of my comfort zone there. But the concept is the same. So if you go into it and you know, I want a bass line that reminds me of, or puts me in the frame of, or makes me feel, or I want the listener to feel like this, you have things that you can reference. I'll give you, on my album, Saint Anne, one of the things that I did when I was working on that record was there were all these different influences that I have for different songs. And I knew that I wanted to evoke certain emotions, not just for myself, but also for the listener. And I wanted them to feel, I was like, I want these songs to feel good, whether or not there's a big production behind them. If I had to do one of these songs live as a trio, I wanted to have the same impact. So one of the things that I did was, you know, for my partner Cam, who co-produced and mixed with me, I was using Evernote, and I made notes. Here's a reference track. Here's a studio recording of this tune. Here's a live version of this tune. And I want to kind of capture this feeling in this song. So what I'm saying is we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've got a blueprint already. So those are just some things to think about. I know it was a quick video. I know that, you know, the concept of groove can be pretty esoteric and explained in very esoteric fashion, but I still think that it is, you know, it's more concrete than we want to believe. And so again, use some of these ideas, get some of this stuff in your vocabulary. I think it might help you in your music creation. If you have some ways that you think about it, I want you to let me know down in the comments below, and connect with me, man. If you haven't done so already, also, you need to go on and meet me over at the Groove School. The link is below. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.